Hi, everybody. I'm Dave. I am with Candid. How many of you know what Candid is? You've heard of it before. Anybody? Yeah, I know some of you from different classes that I've done. I've been doing this. This is me. Hold on, I'll get to the slides. This is me. I've been doing this for about 20 years, teaching classes on writing grant proposals. Is it okay if I stay seated?
Yeah.
It's a long day, kind of thing. But um, I've been doing this for about 20 years, teaching proposal writing and working with people that are looking to get grants. I used to work for the Stalker Foundation. I used to be a program officer for Stalker a long, long time ago. And then I moved on to working for Notre Dame College. I've worked as an independent consultant writing grants, and now I'm working at Candid. Candid is a national nonprofit. We used to be two other nonprofits. One was called Foundation Center. It's been around for a long, long time. We have an office in Cleveland. We also have partners all across the country. So Lorraine Public Library is a partner of ours, and there are quite a number of other ones throughout where we help people find grant opportunities. And we have classes related to learning how to write grants and all the different things that are related to getting funding for your organizations. We partnered 5 years ago with another organization called GuideStar. GuideStar collects information on nonprofits, makes it available to share. And I don't think I have too much about that tonight. I'm just going to give you the best of what we talk about today. But if you've not gone to guidestar.org and you're a 501c3, you're already a nonprofit, there is a record of you on guidestar.org, whether or not you know it. And it's all populated by IRS information. But you, for free, you can go in there and update your information and become more visible to people that are using GuideStar to decide who they give to. And that's what GuideStar is mainly used for. So guidestar.org is used by Facebook. Whenever you do Facebook fundraiser, they're pulling from there. Also, all these donor advised funds that are out there like Fidelity and Vanguard, they use GuideStar to decide who they're going to give to. So I encourage you to update your information on there. But basically what we do is try to answer questions and try to make it easier for you to find the things that you need. And so I don't know if you saw, my email address is in these slides. If anything that I say tonight, if you have a question or if you want to set up a one-to-one, I'm happy to do that with anybody who's interested. And I'll travel out to our different libraries and partners if you want help researching grants and anything like that. I'm happy to do it. I've worked with Cindy for a long time in different programs, and I'm really pleased, happy, grateful to be invited out here to talk about grant writing. How many of you have written grants successfully? How many of you enjoy writing grants? No? Okay, put your hands way down. All right, that's good. I teach the process, and I'm really happy I don't have to do it anymore, to be honest, to all of you. I am very, this is, our organization's called Candid, so I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to write them anymore because it is a lot of work to try and tell your story over and over again. And then you get applications that are slightly different, and you have to modify things, and you have to count the number of characters and everything that you write. It's the reality is that it is a lot of work. But what I'm going to talk about today is kind of organize your information, and I'm going to be specific to the AACF application. When's the deadline for AACF?
November 15th.
November 15th. So if you're putting information together and you're going to be applying to the African American Community Fund, I'm going to try and take you through the kind of things that you need to think about and link it to any other kind of proposal writing that you're doing. So if you're trying to outline your info and try to gather what's most important to funders, that's the kind of stuff we like to try and tell you. And if you're new to it, it's really, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be able to tell your story and tell about what you do. That's what funders want. They want it to be clear. They want to see specifically who you help, and they want to see how it is relevant to what they want and relevant to what they want to support. So that's the short version of all the stuff I'm going to say. Please do ask questions. I only have one eye, so if you can't tell if I'm looking at you, I probably am looking at you. So I'll try and make that as obvious as possible. I won't. I'm not looking at you. Okay. I'll point if you can't tell. Anyway, proposal writing process is basically these things. This is an outline. By the way, the handouts I gave you, there are 3 handouts. And one of them is an outline of the slides that I'm talking about. So if you want to just review that, you don't have to take furious notes or anything like that. Basic idea is, and if anybody else needs them, they are out there. Yeah, they're being passed around. So this is it. This is the proposal. And I like to think of it in the very, very easiest terms as the story that you're telling. What is the story of what it is that you're going to do to help the people in your community? A lot of people, when they start writing grant proposals or they're very new to it, they worry about talking about, well, I need to say that I need to buy this and I need to hire staff and I need to make it more about the things that you worry about all the time, which is keeping your organization going. But to funders, to people that want to give you money, the people that are most important to them are the people that you help every day. So the clearer you are on exactly who you help and exactly what you do for them and exactly how you know you're successful at it, the better you're going to be in telling your story. The other thing about this is it's a story in a narrative. So the executive summary is often part of it or at the top, but the narrative is the main written part. The need, the project description, organization, information, and conclusion. I'll talk about those different parts. It's not always in those words. And on the AACF application, there's slightly different words, but it's this content. What is it that you're going to do? Tell me about the need in the community that you respond to. Who are the people that you are helping? Tell me about what your project is going to do and how it works. Tell me about you as an organization and how you were started and what you've done and why we should invest in you. And then conclude it by linking it to what we do, linking it to the kinds of things that, in this case, the AACF is interested in. All of that is the narrative. The budget, you don't have to be a number genius to do a budget for a grant proposal. What you have to do is make sure that that budget is directly related to what's in the narrative. So that when you say, well, we're going to have 10 busloads of kids that are going to go from this school to this arts thing and then back, and we're going to do it 3 times a year. In the budget should be money for that bus service and money for the food for those kids and money for whatever other expenses are related to that. So a person who's on a foundation is looking a lot of the times at the numbers and then going back to the narrative. Those two things are very important. So I'm going to go on and just talk about this specifically from the point of view of most funders. And I know I'm not talked to every funder in the world, but these are the kind of things that we get as feedback from people that are giving money away about grant proposals. And the funders really, really, really want to give the money to you. I mean, it may not seem like that sometimes. Is that true?
That is very
That the funders really, really, really want to give the money to you. It's their mission. It's what they're focused on. What they want is to be able to answer any questions that other people on the decision-making board, other people in the community might be asking about your program. They want to get the answers. So when you're trying to write what it is that you do, be very, very clear. The specific need is the first thing. And by the way, I have a little outline as well as one of the handouts. It's just for putting in different elements of the grant proposal. It's really for having that at hand. When we get into the application, I'll show you why it's nice to have this. The need that you're addressing, specifically, who are you helping? Not your need, not I need to buy 15 things. It's tell me about what's going on in the community. Tell me about the people that are not getting what they need. People that want to achieve something and are not able to do so. Concentrating on that idea helps you talk about why you're necessary. I read a lot of grant proposals and people start by talking about why they're necessary first, and they forget about the fact that it really is about who's being helped, because that's what it all comes down to in the end. So talk about who you're helping, talk about the neighborhood, talk about statistics about where you are. If you have them, you can get them. I like to go to the library. If I don't know where to get a statistics, I'll ask a librarian where I can get it. But get statistics, but also quotes and information about who you are, quotes and information from the people that you serve. There's nothing that tells a story more clearly than a story about a person that you have served. Tell me about this and tell me also about how it relates. Keep in your mind that you're applying to one funder, the African American Community Fund of the Community Foundation. Keep in mind that you want to make sure that they understand it as well as you do. And they do know the community, but not necessarily as well as you do. So make sure that you describe it. Talk about the need and what kind of things are absolutely vital, because the next part of the proposal is specifically what are you going to do to address that need. So if you've made it very clear, these kids or these adults need these 5 things, the next part of that proposal should be, here are how we're going to give them these 5 things or help them achieve them or work with them to score better on their tests or be fed or be healthier or be safer. Tell me about that. And think about it in the point of view of the funder's words. And we'll look at the funder, the actual application in just a second. When you talk about what you do, I read a lot of grant proposals. I read them now for people that are working on them. I read them when I was with soccer. And one of the questions that I always was asking is, how is it going to work? Tell me exactly what you plan to do. I've met so many people that have fantastic ideas and really have identified a need in Lorain County and beyond, but don't know the specifics. Who are you going to be working with, for example? Collaboration is really, really important to the Community Foundation, to most foundations. You can't ever do everything by yourself. Collaborators don't just give you things, they can help you promote things. They can help you link to potential people that you can help. They can help you get the word out. They can help you so many different ways if they're real collaborations. And by which I don't mean, oh, I read about these people one time, I'm going to put them in my grant proposal, even though I've never talked to them. It's a good idea to talk to them first and say, I'd really love to work with you. Would you be interested in working this way? Then you can say honestly in your grant application, we have established a connection. It's even better when you have a clear idea of how you guys can work together. That's really valuable. Also pay close attention to the kind of things that the funder doesn't want to pay for. And there are some limitations in this grant request. I looked it over, and there's some things that you have to pay attention to. And if you write it as if you didn't read that, the people that put it together are going to notice that and are going to resent it because you haven't done your homework. Your homework is to read the stuff and respond to the questions. A grant proposal is really that. I'm going to tell me a story, but answer the questions that I am asking you so that I can see that story as clearly as possible. All right. It's a good idea also to know what's a good way to measure success of it. What's a success look like to you if you have ways of checking? And it's not always easy to tell when you're successful. Sometimes if it's like reading literacy, you can test people at the beginning and end, and you can find out exactly how, what success is. It's their score higher, or they score at their grade level, or whatever it is. But sometimes it's more, is their quality of life improved? How do you know? How are you going to check? What are the ways that you get excited about your job all the time? Well, I know we're making a difference because of these things. Those are the kind of things you want to talk about. I know we're successful because we can see this and we can see this. If you just say, well, we think we're successful, we just keep doing it and hoping and it's working, that's not good enough. You need to kind of have an idea what makes it really successful. And this is kind of wrapping it all together, is why should it be you that does it? There are lots of organizations in Lorain County. I don't know how many there are actually exactly, but I know with the Stocker Foundation. 2000? Thank you. Aaliyah, do you know the answer to everything? This is good. I was like, that's great. Ask Aaliyah anything you didn't get from me. 2,000 nonprofits in Lorain County. That's an awful lot of nonprofits. And a lot of them have been established for many, many years. And some of them have famous names, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Why is it that you should be the one that does this? Maybe you've already established yourself. Maybe you have a relationship with the funder and you've received funding and done great things with money from other foundations. Talk about that. Talk about what they don't know about you too. Explain. I mean, if you're brand new, a lot of you are, like a couple of you at least are in the newer stages. It's harder to talk about your long, exhaustive experience in the community. But the people that are working for you, the people that are part of your nonprofit, have done things. Talk about what makes you so different. Why are you the best person to do this? If you can't say that, why should they think that? So you have to be able to say those things. Last thing, how else are you going to pay for it? I wish that the community foundation gave all the money that you needed for everything all the time, and that you're not planning to do that anytime. No, okay. That's the reality, is that it doesn't come from one place. So where else are you getting funding? From people that are part of your board? Are you getting donations? Are you getting other grants? Are you getting government money? Whenever you talk about the other sources of funding, it doesn't make it seem like you don't need money from who you're asking from. It means that other people have invested in you, and you want the community foundation, the African American Community Fund, to be another investor in something that's going to be successful because so many people want it to be. And I'm not talking about fundraising. The second part is going to be about financial elements of managing your finances and stuff. But whatever plan that you have, there's no one way to do it. It has to be something, though, that's doable, because nobody wants to give you money, have it successful for 1 year, and then next year, when you can't get money from the same source, it's just going to go away. It's the reality. If you have a relationship with the funder, if you've gotten grants before, if you talk to somebody at the foundation, if you've applied before and gotten some money for the same fund, or have changed what you did the last time that you applied, you need to talk about that. It's really bad. I'll just say it across the board as one of my tips, is that it's really bad to try and hide something from a foundation. I don't know if any of you knew Linda Steyer. Know Linda Steyer now? Linda taught me not to ever lie to any funder. Because I've seen what happens when somebody was trying to make things fuzzy to her. She was like, no, it's this, isn't it? She was very straight about it. The reality is, the more honest you are, the more likely you'll get the kind of help that you need. So don't pretend something is when it isn't. Be honest about where it is, and you can get better help that way. Budgets, I could spend like the rest of tonight. How late do you guys want to stay up? Talking about budgets.
Can I,
Yeah, you can, please.
backtrack on something?
Yes.
You got this.
Little pause here.
Here, I don't know how many people applied for grants with us before or plan on in the future. But he says some key stuff here that when we convene and go over and open up these grants and we want to award everybody this money, small amount of money that we got. One of the killers that when we look at your application is the part that, if you look at our application, hopefully we're gonna go over it, we talk about what we can't do, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, like he says, when you writing what you're asking for us, the first thing you put on here is everything that we say we can't do. And that right there gets you pushed to the side. Even if we know what you do and we like you, it's competitive because of the short amount of money we got. So that's one of the things that's gonna get you probably what we got left.
Yeah.
Versus what you need.
And I will.
That is the 90% of what we're dealing with. You're always asking about the stuff that we can't do, and we're telling you what we can't do right there. So it's like, did they read this? So this is one of the reasons why we're hosting this, to let you guys know. You know, there's things on that application we can't do. It was written by the forefathers. You know, so we follow those to the T.
It's a really good point. And it's not the most fun part of this. You want to tell your story. You don't want to worry about the fact that you may not be a nice, perfect match for what you're needing. But the reality is, there's a reason those guidelines are there, not to be ignored. And it doesn't mean that there isn't anybody else. I spend lots of times trying to find other potential funders, and the people that we partner with do that using the foundation directory, searching for other grants. Every grant is not going to match up for you, but kind of changing things to make it seem like it might also, but we're really going to do that. That kind of stuff doesn't work so well. So read it as closely as possible. And I'll show it in just a second. So summarizing what's necessary in a budget, these two things are what funders want to know. What is the real cost of what you're going to do? If you have a lot of different people working on the project, how much time are they spending on the project? And do you have to pay them other things in addition to salary, like benefits? The real total cost of people working on your project is everything you need to pay for them. The total cost of everything you need for the project might include some of the overhead. I don't know if you guys have a restriction on overhead. I can't remember if that's a limitation. You pay for overhead costs? Don't pay for salaries. You pay very close attention to the kind of things that are limited. And you don't ask for the money to pay for those different things. But for everything else that's necessary for your project, tell what the reason it is and tell it as clearly as possible. I have a little budget worksheet that is here that just helps you put together both the part about expenses. All the stuff in the front is more about making sure that you have everything necessary in a budget. And on the back, it's like a little form. Here's where the money's coming from to pay for it. Isn't necessarily in hand, but some of the money's coming from the community foundation. Some of the money is coming from other sources. Should add up to one number. The same number down here at the bottom, the expenses, should add up to the same number. What do you need to pay for to make this happen? And it may not be money from the community foundation, but all of these things need to be paid for to make it happen. Tell me what those are. One thing I will say, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through our website or anything, is that if you want examples, sample budgets, sample proposals for a lot of different type of funders, you can go to our website, and I'll tell you the page you need to go to. It's learning.candid.org. The learning.candid.org page, you go to the resources section, has free examples of all sorts of different things, including different types of budgets. They're free for you to download if you want examples.
Would this site also have an AI generated,
It actually, this is something we're working on. It's coming. It's coming. Don't try and do it all in AI. I'll just say that right off the bat.
They start to be generated.
Yeah, if you say, okay, I'm going to show you in just a second I'm sorry, I talked about this already. I'm just going to move to this. The AACF application. Don't say, okay, section 1, organizational info, 10,000 characters. Generate a paragraph in 10,000 characters about our organization. Don't do that. Submit it to them without reading it. Because I'll tell you, AI is not perfect.
oh yeah,
Don't assume that there's a computer out there that knows everything. They know how to repeat themselves a lot. And they know how to confuse people a lot, but
They even make grammar mistakes.
and oh my gosh, yes. This is the application. And I'm just going to go through it kind of quickly, but I want you to know about how things link together. Read all of it. These are the instructions. The mission talks about the things that the community fund awards. Improve the quality of life of African Americans in Lorain County, special interest affecting the most disadvantaged in the community. If you can talk about how you serve the most disadvantaged in the community, if you can define what that means, why are these people the most disadvantaged? Talk to me about that, because that's going to be important. This is a series of questions. If you are not serving Lorain County directly, they can't fund you. That's not going to happen. Don't pretend that it's happening. You just match to it. Here is the guidelines, the basic guidelines. All applicants' proposals are screened. Applicants are encouraged to discuss. If you have a question, and I've said this many, many times because we used to have a walk-in library. If you have a question about what does this question mean for the community foundation, don't talk to me, talk to them. reach out,
Aaliyah.
ask, I'm sorry,
Talk to Aaliyah.
don't, no, not you, okay. Aaliyah, talk to Aaliyah, because that's what they're here for. Don't guess when you have a real question. Don't assume it's one thing. If you're not sure, ask. This programming interest is extremely important, and it's really small up there. It is available as part of the guidelines. The size and number of the grants are related to the amount of money available, which means they don't know exactly how much they can give. But look at those 5 bullet points. Does it involve collaborative problem solving among several service providers? Mentioned how important collaboration is. It's vitally important. Does the program strengthen the capacity of organizations through local leadership or by helping nonprofits manage more effectively? Is it effectively done? Will it make things better to have it done this way? Does the program demonstrate the potential for a change, a systemic change, reform, or long-range impact? By the way, these are preferences. They're not absolute requirements, but they're definite preferences. So think about your program through the lens of these 5 bullet points. Does it reflect a community-wide effort or focus? And does it clearly address the African-American Community Fund's programmatic interests, which are at the very top specifically?
If you don't mind, I do want to mention that on our website, peoplewhocare.org, our affiliate funds, so the AACF, Hispanic Fund, Women's Fund, and the Youth Fund, they grant between $500 and $5,000.
Mhm.
That is it for our affiliate.
Good
fund
point to
grant
make.
writers.
Yeah. So if you're asking them for $35 million, that's not going to work somehow. Part of it, but not all of it. Here is what we were just hearing about, what they don't make grants for. And this might hurt to read this because you're like, well, that's what we need. That may mean that this is not the fund for you. If it's a religious purpose, if it's a grant to an individual, except for scholarships, services commonly regarded as a responsibility of government, public school or non-public school services, capital support, that's building and renovation, equipment, capital debt reduction. Look at all of these. Is there a reason why your program might be neglected or part of it? It doesn't mean that you couldn't get some of the money for a program as long as you're not spending it on these specific things related to the program. Read these very carefully.
And just to clarify, the board is basically is operating as the structure. We didn't decide the structure. We just have to kind of work within it, and those are the guidelines set by the board.
Mhm.
So what's happening over years and years and years, people apply and they don't really look at what the board can fund and can't. And that eliminates a lot of people when they apply. Now, we also often try to search within your proposal and see if we can find little things that we can support, as opposed to denying applications completely. But it kind of gets tedious because now if 2 people are servicing the same project or they have a common goal, we kind of have to pick and choose. Can we fund this one or can we not fund that one? Or can we not fund either because we don't have the funds? So the guidelines are important just because that's the work. You know, if you go to work every day and they say, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, that's what you do. So essentially that's how the board operates.
And if you have a question about any of these, if you're like, well, does my program fit in this, call Aaliyah. Ask her, make sure you get it clear. I'm not going to go through these in detail, like we're not going to talk about writing these, but remember all the different parts that I said were essential. You're going to see them all come up in the different sections. One thing I want to draw your attention to, this is about your organization. Why did you start? And specifically, who do you serve? And by specifically, I mean, is the population? Where are they coming from? What neighborhood do they live in? The more detail you have on who you serve, everybody is not an answer to that question. We serve everybody. Nobody serves everybody. Who do you serve in Lorain County? Who specifically do you work with to make a difference? You want to serve everybody, but who do you serve? What's your history? What's your focus? Notice the character limit of 10,000. That sounds like a real lot. But I was thinking about it. It's about 2 pages. So some people get started and they're like, I can't stop. I got 5 pages in here and it's all essential. 10,000 is there's a limit for these for a reason. The project description, name, start date, end date. You don't give money if the thing is already started. Is that true? Or if the project is already started, do you fund it? You will fund it. Okay, that's good. Because some don't. Project start, project end date. Description and duration. What will you do? Is this new or continuation? How many African Americans are involved? Don't look at these and choose your favorite questions to answer. Answer these questions as well as you can related to your program. Ideally, if you've outlined your project, you'll take from the different parts of the outline, and you'll be cutting and pasting in. But don't say, well, here's everything, make this 10,000 words, ChatGPT. Instead, answer the specific questions. One of the biggest places where people fall down is that they ignore a question that's harder. And that's not what you want. You want to make their job as easy as possible. And then you don't want to make it easy for them to reject your application because you didn't read something. Last parts that I'm really concentrating on, I didn't talk about, there's a whole section about fiscal sponsorship and fiscally sponsored organizations that I'm not talking about, but I did want to make sure I point out some of these other things. If you have a collaboration, for projects that involve collaborating, please provide a letter of support or MOU from the key agencies involved. It's very important not to try and pretend that these things are happening without kind of making sure that it's clear. Because
What's an MOU?
Memorandum of Understanding. Meaning something that says we're going to work with you. Don't be surprised if you say we're going to collaborate with this organization and they call them up to see if that's really happening. That's very typical. The goal of the project up at the top is where you talk about the need. How is this project going to help solve the problem you're addressing in our community? Does it have significance? Can this project be replicated? Is this something you're really aiming to keep going? Is it a vital thing that isn't being done? Tell me why you're doing a fantastic thing for a community that maybe is not getting helped. Tell me about this project in detail. The last part is about how do you know you're successful? How will you measure the results? If this project is already taking place, please provide a figure on how many African American individuals were served by the project in the previous year. It's a difficult stat if you haven't already been keeping track of these things. So part of this is checking to see that you are making sure this program is going to be effective. So the more detail you can provide on the people that you've served and helped and changed, the better off that you can do. You use an evaluation form such as a survey, you can share that too. There's something that you use. It's lovely to be able to be a good example for other nonprofits, to be something that other people can get help from what you do, whether or not you know them. Think of yourself as a shining example of something that somebody else should be doing. And if you think, oh, we do this really terrible, then maybe you should think about it again and think about how you might do it better. Do you have any other comments that support your application? Never leave that blank. Think about what's one thing that you wanted to say that you didn't say? What's one endorsement, one quote, one great thing that you do or that you have done that you didn't get a chance to talk about? Put it there. Talk about your relationship. If you've talked to Aaliyah on the phone and you've talked and you've worked and you've applied before and talk about this there. You can't fit it anywhere else. You should have something else to say about what makes you a fundable project. There is no standard budget form for this, but as I said, you should make a budget And if you need to use examples and you need to follow models, do you guys provide like a sample budget, or do you share anything like that?
If someone wants a sample budget, I can, give them an example, some that we used in previous grant cycles, but we don't have any that we put on our website.
Okay. If you need help with this, ask about it. Because, you know, if you're not comfortable with budgets, and a lot of people are not, make yourself to the point where you are comfortable. And comfortable to me means I can explain each line on this budget. Because you're probably going to be asked about each line. They're going to be asking about each line in the budget. All these other things are attachments. Your board of directors, your letter showing your board of directors support for this project request. Don't wait until, what's November 15th? Is it midnight? Don't wait till November 15th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to try and get this. Look at these things maybe first and see what you can get going so that you can get that letter, so you have it with you. I'm done, by the way. Sorry, I went a little bit long. I hope it's not too bad. My last thing is just, you're looking to try and show green flags, and green flags to me means things that funders love to see: real collaboration, real details on the people that you serve, real evidence of success. These are things that are like, people get excited and people want to give money away when they see, I can rely, if I give this money, this is going to happen. This change is going to go on in the community. A red flag is anything really, really fuzzy. We hope to help a lot of people. I don't know what that means. I hope to help a lot of people too, but tell me who you mean. Tell me specifics. Don't be vague. That's the biggest red flag, is fuzzy, vague, not certain. Any questions for me right now? I'm going to hang around. If you have a question, you want to come up to me before I leave, happy to help. My email address is david.holmes, david.holmes @candid.org. If you need more examples of budgets or anything related to putting a grant proposal together, I can probably get it to you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
There were a few key things that I want everyone in here. I want you to take away all of it, right? But for sure, when it comes to the AACF, he mentioned disadvantage. That's important. Right? We don't have millions of dollars, right? So we want to make sure that we are helping those who need us most. He also mentioned the amount, and that is from 500 to 5,000. Again, if we could give out more than that, we would, but we are limited to that amount range. And then the other thing is stats in African Americans, Black, however you identify. It's essential to us. We are the African American Community Fund. So our goal is to uplift the disadvantaged African Americans within Lorain County. So it's important that you focus on that. If you are interested, one of the things that Dave said was, helping everybody. Well, apply to those other grants that are focused on everybody, or Hispanic, or women, or youth, in regards to the affiliate funds of the Community Foundation. But when applying to us, we ask that you focus on African American, disadvantaged African Americans within Lorain County. Thank you.
I'm gonna take a picture of everybody. If you don't want to be in it, you can just dive behind the table.
That's funny.
I'm
Any
just trying to move
questions,
this out the
anybody?
way.
Comments, questions, curiosity? Closed mouths don't get fed.
All right, do we need to get up, breathe, stretch, shake before we
Yes,
move on? All right.
I was at a last party I DJ.
A lot of information.
Birthday
Yeah.
party, I DJ. Guy had his,
Yeah.
elementary school teacher, one of his elementary school teachers came there, I was like, that's, he was down. I couldn't believe him. Oh, he was 16. And looking good. No, he was- I couldn't believe it. I said, "What that's a-"
And you get all of it at once.
What are you doing? That's what I want. That too, but it was funny though, he made everybody, after everybody was talking and everything, he got his chance to get up to talk. He made everybody get up and stretch. Like class back in school, it was funny. I said, yeah, he's a real deal.
All right, and the other thing is, I know that, the team stated, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to any of the AACF members. If there's anything that we have to go through the community foundation for, we will. Aaliyah is our liaison and we sincerely appreciate her, but we are the board and you're welcome to reach out to the board members if you choose, okay? Devon?
All right, so before we dive in, just to give you a quick re-announcement, my name is Devon Daniels. I'm the treasurer of the African American Community Fund, and I also teach at Lyric Catholic Algebra 1 and Geometry, okay? I have the freshmen, I have the sophomores as well. And before that, I had a little bit of experience working in financial services. All right, so before we talk about financial planning, once again, it kind of piggybacks off what David was talking about. We need to make sure that we have clear-cut vision, okay? You need to make sure that we have a specific type of vision for yourself where you're identifying goals. So when we're at the top of this pyramid, first thing when it comes to financial security is identifying what your goals are, okay? Sometimes I like to talk to people saying, hey, close your eyes. Where do you see yourself? What does financial planning mean to you? Okay. If I were to ask 3 different people in this classroom, I might get 3 different answers. That doesn't make it wrong. It's just, what does it mean to you and how do you see it being successful for yourself? All right. Once you identify those goals, you want to create a personalized plan for yourself, whether it's a short-term or long-term, a yearly goal, weekly goal, or maybe 5 years from now. Okay. Once you come up with that plan, you want to implement that plan into your life. All right. Creating the habits of doing so. I believe it was Denzel Washington. He said, dreams without goals are just thoughts, right? If we're not applying that to our daily lives, then it's not going to work out, right? If we end up getting a bonus from our job or something like that, and we don't have a plan with it, that money's just going to trickle away, all right? Once you accomplish some of those goals, or if you don't hit those goals, you want to have some type of benchmark in that year to review those goals that you accomplished, what worked, what didn't work, and how can I get better at that, all right? And then after that, identify the new goals, okay? Or try to work on what didn't work, all right? When it comes to the foundation of financial security, we're talking about risk management, wealth accumulation, and also the wealth preservation and distribution, okay? Once again, when it comes to having financial goals, you want to make sure that you do have targets, okay? Set up your financial success for the future. These goals usually involve saving, investing, spending, and also budgeting, okay? Planning for college, for your kids, for business, and also donating to a cause. Okay. When it comes to that, we want to make sure that we're budgeting our dollars. Okay. When we budget, we want to make sure that we have some type of spending plan. Okay. The spending plan helps you put aside money for your savings, for regular expenses such as food, groceries, car insurance, bills, and unexpected situations. We want to make sure that we control how we spend our money. If we have a goal, we want to make sure we stick to it. All right. Talk with your spouse, maybe even include your loved ones, the young ones. That way we are not reinventing the wheel and getting rid of generational curses. All right. With a written plan, you can make a conscious and informed choice to where you spend your money. All right. And this also will increase your confidence as well and reduce the family stress, knowing that you're prepared to meet your expenses and focus your energies on other important family matters. All right. When we're talking about savings, sometimes we limit ourselves to the piggy bank method. Okay. And the piggy bank method, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just for really short periods of time. All right. That's where the long-term savers come into effect, where you want to have a safer type of decision, making a wise making it wise to store your money at a depository institution, making some type of like money market account where your dollars are actually compounding interest and working for itself. Okay. When it comes to how much money should be saved, once again, there's not a clear-cut answer for that. Times are hard right now, so limiting that, maybe just look at $1,000, okay, just for emergencies, okay. But if you can do better than that, try to look for 3 to 6 months worth of income. All right, preparing yourself. Managing our debt. There's two different types of strategies. That I'm going to talk about today. All right, we got the snowball method and got the avalanche method. Snowball method is usually for the people who you like to see small wins, okay? Because if let's say myself, okay, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to lose weight by either eating right and also going to the gym. But if I'm not doing what I need to do by having the goals and making sure I'm hitting this target or being in the gym for this amount of time or making sure I'm not eating right, I'm not going to see my wins for myself. Okay. So snowball method, where trying to move this out the way, focus on a small, focus on paying off your smallest balance first, and then put all your extra money you can to dedicate to debt pay off toward the account while continuing to pay the minimums on the others. Okay. When that debt is wiped out, you're gonna rinse and repeat and add that amount you've been paying on it to the next largest debt. Okay. In reverse is the avalanche method, when you're tackling the biggest debt first, and then you're working your way down to the smallest amount. All right. The avalanche method might help you get rid of debt faster, but you won't see those small wins, and you might kind of like get discouraged with that because we're not seeing a instant gratification with that. All right, knowledge of debt to income, your DTI. In order to calculate that, a simple equation, you add up all your monthly debt payments and your gross monthly income, and you divide that by your gross income. All right. When you're nearing about 50%, you want to consider that pretty high. All right. We don't want to go above 20 to 30% of debt. All right. Your DTI greatly impacts your ability to get approved for a loan and mortgages. All right. Comparing and tracking your expenses. All right. We want to make sure that we are calculating the cards that are dealt to us. Okay. What are we working with? All right. Income and expenses are the main components of any spending plan. Before you make a plan, you need to calculate the money that's coming in. And do you have any extra money to direct towards your financial goals? All right. Is your income equaling your expenses? Okay. Or are you breaking even? And then income less than your expenses. If we have that, then it's a clear cut problem. We want to make sure that we're adjusting our spending habits. And spending more than we earn is a bad habit to get into. Once again, tracking the expenses, how much money is going out for fixed expenses due to rent, mortgage, and then what's flexible, the groceries, the electric, things like that. And then also what's periodic, car maintenance, property tax, car insurance. When it comes to knowing what our goals are and knowing how we can fix them, the thing is we have to make sure that we apply it. Okay. Well, I feel that a lot of people believe that knowledge is power, but I would disagree by saying applied knowledge is power. Okay. What good is knowing what I should be doing and not doing it? And then just wrapping this all up, just simple baby steps. Okay. Baby step 1, have income for emergencies, have an emergency fund. The statistics is showing that a percentage of Americans can't cover an emergency without using some sort of debt or credit card. All right. Then we have baby step 2. Once that's knocked out the way, we want to start paying down our debt. Snowball method, whether it's the avalanche or the snowball. Okay. Pay towards the smallest amount and work your way up. All right. But we do not consider the mortgage part of that plan. Baby step 3, we want to have the 3 to 6 months worth of income saved up. This helps with career transitions or job loss. Okay. When I started off working in financial planning, that was 100% commission. So I had to make sure I talked with my spouse to see how is that going to work. Okay. Did I have enough money saved up? What are we going to do? What's our plan? Okay. Baby step 4, we want to invest 15% of our income. We want to let that money work for us. That's the money market I was talking about. Okay. Or investing into a cause for a long run, stocks, things like that. Baby step 5, investing for your kids' college, maybe even high school. High school tuition is pretty high too for private schools, and also post high school decisions, whatever amount works within your budget. Not every child goes to college. We want to make sure that we are preparing them for the future. Um, things like that. Okay. Then baby step 6, we want to make sure we're moving with our intentions and then pay off our home. Baby step 7, give back. Give back to the community. Give back to your family. This is when we have life insurance things in place as well. We don't want to create debt for our loved ones when we are gone. Okay, passing on debt, I feel is like one of the worst things that you could do. Personal experience, my father, he ended up passing away, and thank God that he had some type of life insurance to help out. But I have to step up to help my mother out when it comes to paying bills and keeping the lights on. Okay. So I know that the life insurance game is looked at where it's like, why would I pay for something when I'm not going to be here? It's not really about you. It's about your family and keeping those lights on for your loved ones. All right. And we also have someone on our team that can help you with that. She's not here today. It is Miss Danielle Hughes. Okay. And I'm gonna let Steve piggyback off of that. And my last slide is my contact info. If you have any further questions, my number and my email. Steve, you got the floor.
Give that man a round of applause. It's good to see everybody. I'm glad that everybody was able to make it. This was near and dear to my heart because if you don't know me, I'm black through and through. I might be the lightest one here, but I'm the blackest one amongst you. All right, trust me, believe that. Now I'll say this. No, I'm lighter. Now, one of the things I noticed, I've been on the board, what, 4 years? Going on 5 years? The first thing I noticed is that a lot of the denied applications were because of technicalities. And our people just don't really understand the process. So I wanted to give our people the opportunity to experience what someone that sits on the backside sees. And it's important for us to know how to work through the process. When I essentially first started really focusing on nonprofits, I was with this brother right here, Eric, when we were back to the brothers. And we had to go through a lot of turmoil just to get funding because one, not only were we a bunch of brothers from the streets, but we didn't really know what we was doing other than giving back. We was able to do the work, but we wasn't able to go through the process. And the process was kind of a hiccup for us. Now I sit on the front end of the process. So I wanted to make sure that we give our people the opportunity to see that process and learn it because there's funding available to us, and not even just amongst our own community. There's funding outside of our community from people that don't look like us, that'll give us money to do the things that we want to do. And Candid is one of the largest programs in the country, which means most of these other organizations use Candid. So if you learn how their program operates, you can kind of navigate a lot of the things that you might want to accomplish just by understanding how it operates. So that's why I wanted to make sure we did this. I had the support of the president and even the last president. We just didn't get a chance to do it. And I really hope that everybody learned something from it. If you didn't learn something from it, reach back out to us and figure out how we can help anybody that needs any assistance. Because as you can see, we're in the AACF. All right, this is the African American Fund. We know disproportionately our community is affected the worst. So our kids, our elderly, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters are the same people that we can impact with the funds. And then lastly, the way the funding works is these are essentially endowment funds. All right, someone gave money to the community foundation and said, hey, this is what we want this funding to go to. All right. those funds are maturing over time. And it's a way to give back. That's philanthropy. We all can do that too. So if you are interested in starting your own fund, you can also reach out to Aaliyah and she could work you through the process of starting your own fund. So you can create that opportunity for years down the road.
Imagine that. And that's what we should really be all on, to be honest with you. My vision and the reason why I'm here on this board is to spread that word and try to get more people to be influenced to want to start their own fund. So when you're long and gone, whoever's name you want to put in, your grandmother's name, your family's name, whatever, it's going to continue to go. Like you said, these funds always mature. We give away the interest. But the money that we put in there stays there. And this foundation has a entity that's invested in it and it's doing marvelous. And so these funds will always be here. We just want to get them bigger and bigger to the point where we can give away more. Imagine funding our own, whatever we want to do, whenever we want to do it year after year, and leaving that legacy, And we got the power to do that right now in this room. We just got to come together more, spread the word more, and show people how to do it. You don't have to be rich to do this. A lot of these funds were not started by, you know what fascinated me about this board most than anything, the people who started these funds were not rich. They were regular old people who went to work 95, making pennies back then in the 60s, 70s. I think they started in the 80s, this fund. But they weren't making the kind of money we're making now.
Yeah.
A
And
lot
the
of people
oldest
just
fund-
gave, instead of having birthday parties and giving me gifts, give me money to my fund. You got a certain amount of time to grow these funds. And after about 2 or 3 years, they're invested and now they can give out their first scholarships. You should see the smile on these people's faces. And there's a lot of families that's into this fund right now. So we got the potential to grow it more, man. That's what I want to do.
As y'all can hear, I have some really, really powerful and passionate individuals on the team. So we want to make sure that you have all of the tools that you possibly will need to complete a successful application. And that's why we invited you here tonight, and we're so grateful that you did come. In reference to Devon's presentation, there were a few things that I want to highlight because I think that they're important. I know some of you were probably sitting there like, financial risk, yeah, I know that, I deal with that. But there were some key things that he stated that someone who worked in finance was like, that's kind of cool. The snowball method, smallest debt first, short-term goals. The avalanche method, biggest debt first, long-term goals. The debt to income ratio by raise of hands, who knew how to calculate that? Very good. Not everybody's hands were raised though. That's the point we want to make. Simplification. There are so many of us that don't know this term. They say they do, but they don't know this term. Simplification. My charge to each of you is to go home, maybe on the weekend, look at your account and map out how many subscriptions you pay for. Just subscriptions. And then once you identify that, trust and believe, you're gonna be like, what in the heck? Because you're not gonna remember, you're not, and you will see how it's calculated. That right there, you can start with simplification and then go from there. And then applied knowledge. You can get all the professional development in the world, but unless you apply it, it is not changing your outcome. Okay? And then the baby steps. There were a few things in there, but I'm just gonna highlight 2. Life insurance. That is another area that our individuals, our culture is not used to taking out. There are factors in that. There are factors that you may not have the, expendable income.
You can
But you
create an
need to
endowment for
create
your
it.
life insurance.
You need to create it.
You can
Because
create an
it's
endowment for your
important.
life insurance.
What did you say?
You can create an endowment with your life insurance policy.
Yeah.
So when you pass, if you want to create an endowment saying your name or your kid's honor, however you want to do it, you can actually include that into your life insurance.
Who your employer.
And the other thing was the 579 plan, which is a college fund. So if you don't have the expendable income, then think about creating a 579 plan, because they exist out there and you can do it over time. So those are a few things that we wanted to make sure that you understood. The other thing is that our mission has changed, and what was showed up there, I encourage you to go onto the Community Foundation Fund, and we will make sure that it's updated on our actual application. But the mission has changed. And then if you are applying to these, you have to be a nonprofit organization. That means that you have to have a 501c3 or have a fiscal sponsor. Okay, because that's another area that we often get, kind of lost in. But it has to be nonprofit focused for sure. So I think those are all of the details that we wanted to share. And we have 15 minutes respectfully to provide you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have written down or anything that you may have, or just to dialogue. It's up to you all, but this is your time.
When you just mentioned the sponsor, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so there are times when individuals are going, because that process takes quite a bit of time. Because you have so many different factors that you have to look into, right? And one of them is creating a board, right? And so the 501c3, that's the